This entitled wannabe parent is so crazy, she tries to buy a baby. But the twist is, she only wants to buy a baby if it has the right skin color. Happy birthday if today's your birthday, and on with the show. Being a lifeguard is full of dealing with people that you wouldn't trust with a bathtub full of water in any amount. Somehow, people feel entitled to the water, or forget common sense is something we all have, but seem deficient in. Anyways, I had to deal with a Karen and her brat who both thought he was Michael Phelps in water when he looked like a drowning chihuahua with a human form. The woman couldn't be more than 30 years old, with her 6 to 8 year old boy during family swim, a time block in which families are allowed to hang out together, while one lap swim lane was usually open. This meant a giant pool with lenient parents, and crazy kids coming in and out, while the more sensible ones usually are the calmest, trying to not gather attention. I have always hated this time frame because I couldn't stand the kids that disregarded rules and put each other in harm's way. One night, Karen popped in with Tommy. All was well until that little guy went to the deep end, doggy paddle style. I have seen all swimmers from the 4-year-old fishes to the scared grown humans called adults. But this kid nearly gave me an anxiety attack, seeing his head bob up and down and struggling. After the second time, I went up to him, asked if he could swim, and he said he could because he's on the swim team, which made me want to roll my eyes back to see if I still had a brain. You see, I was also once a swim instructor, but that part of me always stayed. I knew he wasn't ready for the deep end yet. Anyone could see he clung onto the side of the pool, swam like a dog, and had no breathing control with his head tilted up, giving little gasps and grunts as he moved slowly forward. As a responsible lifeguard, I asked him to stay in the shallow end, 5 feet and less. But he disagreed, and I told him even more firmly that he needed to go because he wasn't a strong enough swimmer, and it was much safer. Even if he was on the swim team and had pool noodles with him, he got upset because he thought I was being mean, which I was about to be soon because I knew there was most likely a mama bear that was going to side with him and give me a headache. I wished that I brought my migraine pills for that shift. Right on cue, Karen came up to us and asked what the problem was. I explained and hoped that she was reasonable, but she told me to let it go in a demanding tone. "Tommy's on the swim team. He can swim." I wanted to take the closest pool noodle and I smiled politely. "Ma'am, I believe you, but he is showing classic signs of a weak swimmer. That put him in the risk of drowning in this deeper side of the pool. It would be best if he went to the shallow end to ensure his safety." "He's fine." I took a deep breath and reminded myself that the check was important for school. "Then he wouldn't mind taking a swim test?" I asked. I didn't hide my emotions. I was done with the situation, but wouldn't blow my top and let them win. She shrugged. "He'll pass." "Great. Can you do a swim test for me?" I asked Tommy. He nodded. I had him perform the test, and he did decently, but the treading part was a different ball game. He was practically floating on his back. Even when his mum and I explained it to him, he disregarded it and told me, "See, I can swim." No, you really can't. Your muscles aren't used to being in for a long period of time. You literally started drowning not even 10 seconds in. That your mum was even scared until you floated on your back. Even when she saw his epic failure and running the treading part 3 times, Karen demanded I let the issue go and leave her son in peace. I advised her one last time that it was best if he was in the shallow water until I gave up and decided that I mostly did the minimum amount of Fs that I was legally able to. Not wanting to make a scene an hour before I had to lock up and go home. The audacity of this woman was that she complained about me to another patron about racism or whatever, as I repeatedly had a scare with Tommy every 10 minutes until I nearly lost it and demanded he go to the shallow end, prompting his mum to say they were leaving. "I'm leaving a complaint," she whined, which I didn't care. I'm one of the best and reliable employees. The boss wouldn't trade me in or fire me. He'd only ask what went down, and usually dismissed complaints that were unwarranted. He could even check the camera footage. She left with the kid. I was left with one of my favorite, polite families, enjoying the rest of my shift, and went home to relax and do homework over spring break. What's so shocking here is, what if the kid actually did drown? Like, he wasn't able to swim. Shouldn't the mother be caring more about his safety than the fact that he can go in the deep end? Why does that matter to her so much? It's almost like she was so offended that somebody tried to tell her poor little baby what he could and couldn't do, that she was willing to put his safety at risk just to prove some stupid point. I'm one of 4 kids, 3 of us from the first marriage, elder sister, elder brother, and myself, the youngest, and a little brother born from dad's second marriage. Our stepmom was in my life from when I was 3. She was a beautiful woman, auburn hair that curled perfectly, even in the tropics, a figure to die for, a personality that was charming, and manipulative. Flash forward to being an almost adult. I'm 18, elder brother 19, sister 21, and younger brother is 4. We finished school in Australia at 17, and you can go to uni or TAFE, get a job or bludgeon the dole. This story is about my elder brother. We were all sent away for school at the age of 13, because the local school was subpar, and we all chose different paths once we turned 17. He chose to return to home. Population here is about 250 people. It's small. He goes to work for my dad because although he struggles with the written word, dyslexia, if you show him a process, he can look at it, analyze it, and then will give you ways to improve it. On top of this ability, he is genuinely one of the kindest and most loving people on this earth. Dad knew with a bit of work experience, Big Brother could easily get any form of job he wanted, anywhere he wants. After he returned home and commenced work for my dad, my stepmom perceived an issue. Elder brother was happy. He had his own life, and although he technically lived with them, he spent all his time with his girlfriend. After a year or so, I can only surmise that stepmom began to resent my dad and brother's relationship. After all, Big Bro had been away at school since he was 13, and it had been her and her son at the family home for a long time. It's a small community, so gossip spreads like wildfire, which she knows as she is the source of most of it. It began as a trickle, a few of the local douche hats commenting near enough for the big brothers to hear. Apparently my elder brother was not my father's child. He was devastated. He called my elder sister in tears because he wasn't able to ask my dad. He has no emotional filter. My brother is all heart, and this destroyed him. We did our best to tell him that it's just stepmom stirring stuff, but he was so scared that the one person that had been solid and good in our lives wasn't actually his father. He swore my sister and I to secrecy, that we would never tell our dad that he wasn't his child. Eventually, this gossip reached my dad. He was livid. He sat my stepmom and brother down and started. This is me paraphrasing from my brother telling me, "I don't know where this came from, and I will not have this freaking Big Brother up. Big Brother, you are my son. Even if there was a doubt about who your dad is, which there isn't, I am your father." She tried to claim that it was someone that was friends with bio mum that had told her that Big Brother wasn't dad's child, and she just wanted to talk it out with her friends before she raised it with dad. Then he looked at the stepmom and told her that she had to stop the crap. He made her apologize to the big brother. The best bit is, there is a giant chalk notice board in the center of town which anyone can write on. Dad had drinks with Big Brother after this, with lots of reassurance given. He took Big Brother back to his girlfriend's house, where he basically lived, then stopped by this chalkboard. He erased everything on the board and wrote, "I love Big Brother's name." Not a single person in the community removed that message until rain eventually washed it away. No, it's a little bit of a sweet happy ending there, isn't it? What the stepmom did was pretty despicable, but I think it came from a place of fear and insecurity. I think if she just talked to the stepdad and was like, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling, a little bit more left out now that you're connecting more with your son." It's a pretty natural thing to feel. I'm sure he would have understood and you could have talked through it. But no, you basically created a situation where there was no problem, and now you've created immense toxicity in the relationship. Just why? This is the most manipulative and ugly, literal ugly, classist, racist person I've ever met. I've worked in customer service and do politics in a totalitarian government, so it's safe to assume I've already seen the worst of the worst. She is married to my uncle. Let's call her Mary. Mary has pulled a lot of entitled stunts over the course of her life. I probably have over 100 stories that I can share that I know of. I don't talk to that part of the family because it's toxic as, but there are a few family gatherings in which we meet. One of those happened yesterday, and I got reminded of her golden traits, so thought you would enjoy raging with me. Her entitlement shone yesterday, as she tried to make herself the best friend of my current boss, who's married to my cousin, and he's filthy rich. Brought a friend of hers who was supposed to be strictly quarantined because she is high risk, tried to outshine the 1-month-old baby who we were all there to meet, with her already grown-up daughters who we've all met. Tried to become the host of the party in a house that wasn't hers, going as far as to search and serve food from the refrigerator that wasn't destined to the party servings. And to top it all off, we were all there to pray for my cousin's mother who died last week. I don't participate in Christian stuff, but she was my favorite aunt and like a second mother to me. So the moment of appreciation was very important to me, to my cousin, my other aunt, and Mary's husband, his sister. Turns out Mary decided that since we were all there to remember the dead ones, it would be a nice thing to not only take the role of the main person leading the prayers, but to also include a picture, a big one, of her mother that she pulled out of her purse and put it in front of my aunt's picture, covering it almost completely. And start with a speech of how she missed her mother, who died 10 years ago. And she literally says, "Rip" about my aunt's death. But I'm not here today to tell you that story. Oh no, I was just venting. Since I have so much to tell, and so little time, I figured it would be best if I started with the oldest tale I know of. The time she asked my mum to sell her my brother when she was 4 months pregnant. Good old Mary is infertile. She has 2 daughters. One was conceived in vitro and then introduced into the womb. The other one popped out of nowhere, literally. We suspect she bought it out from someone, since she has a record of trying this, but whatever. Before having her first daughter, when I was around 10 years old, my mum broke the news to the family that she was pregnant. Yay! Mary wasn't happy with this, because she, as of then, had been trying for years with her husband and wasn't able to get pregnant. She always had this sort of competition with my mum, and with everyone, because she has this need of being the best one in everything. She must have the most money, have the most expensive clothes, be more successful in her career, having the happiest marriage, going to the most exotic places. But she wasn't the best. She was the only one with no children out of the 7 siblings of the family, my aunts and uncles, and she was also one of the oldest wives. So imagine her jealousy when the youngest one, directly below her husband, was going to have her second child while her and her husband were still child-free. The horror! Her status! So she put my mother aside one day and told her, "You know, it isn't fair that you get pregnant before us. It wasn't fair of you to have OP before your brother, since he's older than you. But whatever. It can't be helped if OP was a broken condom or something. But, you know, we've been trying for years now, and we're just exhausted. And we're not comfortable with trying those artificial methods or having a baby without our blood. So since you're family, we know you are not in a financial position to take care of another baby right now. What would you say if I offered to pay for everything pregnancy related, and after the baby is born, I would pay you this amount for keeping it as your brother's and I's baby?" Of course, my mum said no. She told me roughly how the proposition went years later, but only because I was the one that found out why she was so pushy about buying my brother. Because this wasn't just a one-time thing. No, she tried constantly to convince my parents to sell them my brother throughout the next 5 months, and even for some months after he was born. You see, my father is a son of immigrants. He has European bloodline and is very handsome. Mary also has a need of proving to everyone that she has royal blood, and aesthetics are everything to her. Hence the need to show herself as the best of the best in every aspect of her life, and she will not hesitate to do anything to achieve her goal of being the perfect woman with the perfect life. This includes pretending she has white genes. She doesn't. We live in a very heavily mixed-raced country. She was born in one of the least developed states, in a humble family, in a small town, with only town people that has been working under the sun for generations, so all of them have dark skin. She married my uncle, who comes from a family that has lived in an island for generations, and who is also the most dark skin toned of all the siblings. There is no way she is going to have a baby who is white. But my mom is one of the most light-skinned between her siblings, and she married my dad, who has Italian and Polish genes, and I was born with a very pale skin and smooth hair. Mary's and her husband's hair are what we describe as bad hair, not in an offensive way, but that's how it's called here. It's basically super twisted and thick hair. There was a big chance my brother was going to be born European looking. You already know where this is going, right? One day, I was minding my own business while at their daughter's birthday party, and I happened to wander close to where Mary was talking with someone, didn't know her, and I heard how she openly complained about how her daughter was black, and how she wished she managed to convince my mom and dad to just give her their baby, because having a white son would have solved all of her problems. It's so hard to move up the stairs of society when you have a black family. And not only that, but having an ugly daughter isn't going to help either. There's no way she will marry a rich man. How is she supposed to pay her retirement? There was more said, but I can't remember it all. And yes, my uncle approves of her behavior and patronizes it. Oh, by the way, forgot to mention that the daughter that popped out of nowhere one day is white and looks nothing like Mary nor her husband. If she's infertile and can't have kids but really wants a family, that's a really sad situation. But why on earth does she think the solution to that is to offer to buy her family's baby? One day this woman woke up and thought that was a good idea, and then she actually tried to do it, without any sense of what the repercussions or fallout would be with her family members. I wouldn't be surprised if this happened in somewhere like Brazil. I've heard that it's a somewhat common cultural thing there, but if anyone watching is from Brazil or a country like this where this happens, let me know, and if you have any stories like it, please share them with the rest of us. Submit your story to be read on the channel at voiceyherestories@gmail.com, and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.